Hello everybody, it's Holger Mueller here from Constellation Research. Welcome you to episode, can you believe it, number 90. Hello to my fabulous co-host, Liz Miller. 90, that's an aspirational age. That's 12 years beyond the average expectation life for me. You have a little less time to go, like 81, I believe, is for a woman right now.
Maybe, I think so. Well, yeah, and then you also have to put in the Holger factor. I work with you, so doesn't that automatically drop that life expectancy as well for me too?
Yeah, this is why I had to adopt a plant-based diet, to which I had my 2-year anniversary on the 1st of October, right? This is making up for it, and I'm overcompensating.
Congratulations, you've been carrying your own food and all of your own dishware for 2 years now. And for anyone who's been in an analyst moment with Holger, y'all know what I'm talking about.
Actually, not totally true.
Not totally true. I've only been carrying the soup blender for 1.5 years now, Liz. Sorry, I forgot about that. But as much as that is scintillating news, we're actually going to get to some real tech news. Holger, what's been happening in your world?
Lots of interesting things happening. Of course, tons of stuff on the AI front. We would be remiss if we wouldn't talk about the Constellation AI Summit that happened last week, Monday in New York.
Yeah.
Yes, AI Forum, not Summit, correct. That was a Summit. We'll talk about this a moment later. We inducted the first Constellation AI executives, which was great. They all got a nice plaque. They were all interested. Super good into conversations across what is possible, what can be done, what can't be done, what shouldn't be done with AI these days. So a very successful event. Everybody very happy. Lots of great networking.
I saw the readout from that. I was following you guys in the conversation, and I thought it was super interesting because as I was listening to the AX100 leaders who were coming in and really sharing a lot of their insights about kind of what were some of those initial roadblocks. I think a lot of those roadblocks kind of tended to center around like, we don't know where the business value is going to come from this, so we're not racing into all of this madness with our eyes wide shut. Kind of seemed like a fairly common statement, but data also seemed to be kind of a common thread that a lot of folks rounded in on. And it was really interesting to see all of the kind of comments coming out of the audience and folks kind of tweeting and live tweeting the event and sitting in another event. So I wasn't able to be at the AI Forum, but I actually was at Verint Engage, and Verint is a long-standing contact center solution provider, but they are now very much a conversational AI and an AI bot company where they are really delivering on this idea of low-code and no-code bots that can really address very specific issues and address very tangible use cases. So it was really interesting listening to customers from Verint talk about, like, I was able to apply AI to address scheduling, to address call routing, to like very, very specific, tangible problems that they've been trying to tackle for years. And then setting AI and more of it than AI, and I think this is a common thing. You can tell me, Holger, if a lot of this was the conversation too at AI Forum. It wasn't just AI for the flash of AI. It was AI for the purpose of accelerating automation, right? And accelerating that transformational moment in a very, very specific and targeted way.
Yeah, you had me at acceleration. That's what it's all about, enterprise acceleration. And AI has a lot of promise from that. But let me ask you this question, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but is anybody of these call center vendors, and you're in the space, I used to do this 23 years ago, there was no AI at the time. I mean, we all had these programmed agents, chatbots before, right? It never really fully took off, right? Is anybody having a live AI agent already, or is it still coming soon?
Yeah,
okay.
No, it's, you know what, I will say, a lot of people will look at the contact center and be like, oh my God, like, we've been trying to do these things. We've been trying to do smart routing. We've been trying to do, interactive voice recording. We've been doing IVR for years. We've been doing chatbots for years. But I think we kind of hit a point, especially with generative AI, where it's that conversation and the automation that is leading the charge, rather than this attitude of let's get as many people out of here and off of here as possible. That's where the change is. So what we're seeing in a lot of the new IVA or the the interactive virtual assistants, those are the places where AI is being implemented that are very specifically providing aid and knowledge and content to the agent, to the supervisor, and to the customer in these very, very directed and specified ways. It's not like, let me just turn on the AI machine and everything will be amazing. It is very much, I think trying to figure out how to interrogate data differently, but also how to generate and compile content differently. So you have far more robust conversations that the customer can have in with our knowledge bases and knowledge centers. It actually goes back to something that you've talked an awful lot about, right? Which is when we are in these business acceleration clouds, when we are in these composable environments, it allows all of the applications that we put on top of it to take that leap forward. Right. So, and I think that's what we're seeing in the contact center very specifically with AI, because we have placed all of these tools on these public cloud. A lot of them still have hybrid infrastructures with telephony. Absolutely. But because we've put our data and we've put our content that we are now also treating like data onto those composable architectures that allow us to move quickly and move at scale, all of these business applications are clicking faster. And I think we're seeing that certainly with players like Verint. We're seeing Verint offer these public cloud AI applications that can run over the top, even on your on-prem solutions that you've spent millions of dollars and millions of man hours creating these really intricate customizations that work for your industry, for your regulations, for your organization. People still aren't willing to walk away from those. And now you've got solutions like Verint, like Avaya, like a couple other solutions. You know, UJet also providing some great tools that can now take you over the top, that can lean in on the innovations and the advancements that a lot of these devices, the public cloud, the data that AI now delivers. So we are actually seeing like actual smart routing. It's like, so this is what we've been talking about for all those years. It's amazing.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that it's a pretty safe use case, right? As long as you can put your knowledge base in a PDF, which you usually can, you can dump it over to an AI agent and you have the interactive application. You don't have to program anymore all the interactions before, where to figure out what's the intent, where it goes. So first of all, Gen AI got much better at the intent to understand human spoken language. It can generate better human spoken language, which was a challenge of bots before. You would just get a link back and shall I click on it? Shall I not click on it? Right? Was the interaction helpful? Yes, no?
Yeah, but I think we've taken it a step further from that as well, because I think it goes beyond like, okay, does your whole knowledge base go into a PDF? Now we can scan the PDF, like we put it that structured. Yes, like that was certainly the first gating point to this knowledge conversation. But now we have this opened up whole world when you have a composable architecture and you have composable content, that now where all of your content solutions are now in this composable architecture, you can now be querying everything out of your content solutions. You can look at your CCMS or your composable content solutions. You can look at the technical knowledge data that's coming in from languages like DITA. Now you can look at things that are now stored in not just PDF, but when you're using something like Adobe Document Cloud, you can actually pull that out of PDF, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, all of it. So now you're looking at documents in a different way from an enterprise content management solution, and you're looking at consumer focused or outbound focused content from your CMS solutions. And you consider that all part of your knowledge base now, but add on top of that a lot of the co-piloting tools. So again, it doesn't have to be agentic. We don't have to go that far down the road. But where are some of the best answers to some of the hardest questions that come in about your products and solutions? It's not in your knowledge center. It's not even in a PDF. Sometimes it's in an email. So how are we pulling email into that kind of corpus of knowledge data? These are the types of questions we can now ask of content and of knowledge. And with these AI solutions on top, you can actually say, no, I don't want this included. Yes, I want this included. Yes, I want everything in from the manufacturer that came from PDF. So I think it's opened up a lot of doors, both not only in the contact center, but quite frankly, in content operations writ large. You're seeing that convergence between enterprise content and kind of what we've considered that outbound experience level content. That's all coming together in really interesting ways, and kind of in ways that you have been talking about for quite some time.
Or like you're absolutely right. Or about the conversation which could bump from the AI agent to the real world agent and learn the content from that, right? But I'm saying it's like the safe use case. Even PDF, all the other sources are valid as well. Absolutely right. Which is generative AI transforms everything which touches documents, right? Written documents, generating documents, listening to music, composing music, listening to video, creating video, understanding pictures, creating pictures. So everything is document centric, and a lot of the customer service parts are call centric.
Absolutely. But how are you seeing that? I've got the question for you though, because you spent some time, I want to say like last week or so, with the folks at Infor, right? So How are things like AI and all of these innovations and everyone kind of wanting to know where they can apply AI in some place like ERP, HCM, especially, in that overlap space that you and I tend to look at as workforce management, right? WEM, WFM, changing every day from this. What did you get from them?
Yeah, no, they had a good conference, small kind of like 800 event, but a great mixture set up at the new Fontainebleau in Las Vegas. It was nice to see a property once. Looking forward to go to Las Vegas the next time. It's this new hotel. They did really well there. They said bye-bye to Coleman, which was a great name for the AI assistant, because I thought the Gen AI is now the Infor AI, Gen AI assistant, which is going to take over. And of course, they did, like everybody else, announce conversational UX. To everything. It collapses the menu structure. It's much more easier for humans to talk or to type than having to search menu, navigate menu structures, and find the relevant information. So nothing really earth-shaking here. The good news for customers of Infor is Infor was one of the first vendors, the first vendor, ERP vendor in the public cloud with AWS in 2014. And it was the first vendor to have a data cloud, a cloud infrastructure, a big data lake, lake house, whatever you want to call it, under that. So I can pretty much knock myself up as an Info customer. I'm building Gen AI capabilities as much as I want to and want to get there. So good news from Info from that perspective. And in workforce management, I mean, they keep pushing more complex things. I spoke to healthcare customers. I spoke to an airline. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to mention them or not. Between you and me, it's actually a wonder that an airplane leaves on time.
Right.
I mean, it's so many systems involved. I mean, the normality must be delayed. The normally can't be punctual, right? So different people for above, below the wing. I knew that before even, but then different parts for pilots and flight attendants, different apps, different places to ship.
Oh, the scheduling nightmare. So, the WFM challenge is like, ugh.
But I have a lot of more respect if a plane leaves on time now. Hopefully the trains are simpler.
It's funny because I think that was also a big conversation that came up at Verint, right? Was because Verint's history, like their legacy has always been in workforce management, specifically in the contact center and beyond. But I think when you start to talk about workforce engagement and that intersection between workforce engagement and workforce management, there is this growing sense that the same types of applications that we are developing, thanks in large part with generative AI, absolutely, but also with public cloud and this kind of new infrastructure of composability that we can now all rely on, we're now actually able to create more self-service, self-aware systems that actually give our employees what they want within our business's confines of reasons and operational boundaries, which is flexibility, right? Like, so things like scheduling, we're not now dealing with such rigid scheduling challenges where we forget to think about compliance, we forget to hear about schedule and timing adherence. All the things that we've tried to control over the past several decades around scheduling, now within these self-service environments and within this massive amount of data that we have from our historical scheduling, how every plane actually got off the ground on time, we can now start to orchestrate this very differently. And it's been very interesting to watch so much of the same language creep into the dialogue, like orchestration, like predictive data modeling. All of these things are now being applied to something that didn't feel safe before in scheduling, right? But now we're certainly seeing a lot more of that in flex time scheduling, shift swapping, all of these things that we're able to see in something that's complex, whether it's an airline or whether something is a contact center. I think we're going to see a lot more of that, and it's very practical, and it's where people want to start. But
it's all about to reduce the friction. It's all about reducing friction and accelerate processes, right? Why does the manager have to talk if you and me want to switch shifts and be allowed to switch shifts?
Absolutely. I think we're about to go over time, but we'd be remiss not to talk about some big news that happened last week, right? Which is going to be the big old funding that happened over at OpenAI, that little company that could. Who are those guys? Generative what? LL who's? Yeah. That's an awful lot of money, and that's an awful lot of shift that's going to happen there. Holger, what do you expect to see from an innovation ramp up from OpenAI as an organization because of this influx of cash?
Well, I think they need to do more to catch up on the real world. They're still pretty much leading on English, but the world does not only speak English, so they're behind on that. So I expect them to expand their reach from that perspective. With that comes complexity, legislation, compliance, right? We see how a big company like Apple's struggling not to releasing their AI in Europe because of compliance issues. So I think that will be a complex awakening on the OpenAI side. And then it's all about making AI multimodal, which they're behind Google, who's earlier from that perspective on the multimodal side. Because if we want to reach the general AI like humans, I mean, we can see each other, we can hear each other, we can hear the tone in our voices, we can understand body language, we understand what we're saying. So the multimodality is the key border at the moment, I think, for all AI vendors to bring these things together, which many of the traditional early players are still struggling with. And you need an architecture to bring that all together. You need, of course, to have the models. Many of them don't even have all the models to understand, hey, is Holger's sentiment now positive from his body language or not, right? And will they license? It's going to be, if it can be pulled off, it's clear it's going multimodal, it's going to be a big consolidation in the space from my perspective. On the flip side, we see new players all the time. New players are coming.
I mean, but I think we're also going to see a lot of different business diversification coming out of OpenAI, right? Because yes, there's the models and everything that you can have there, but there's also going to be introductions like Canvas that was introduced last week, right? That is very specifically that interface that's working very specifically, whether it's on coding or on writing, right? On how to actually integrate, how to actually use, how to actually make this become a really viable tool across the enterprise. I think there are also going to be some really important business extensions that they have to look at, not just, hey, we've got a model, it does cool stuff, but how does it actually integrate? How do you actually use it? And how do you actually turn it into a viable business tool? I think is going to be a big part of that. What we really need is a GPT that's going to help us stay on time and not go over and get yelled at by our amazing, lovely producer, Hannah. It has already happened. So folks, that's going to bring our news to the end. Listen, we've got some great videos and some great interviews coming up. I say great because I did one of them. I'm just not going to lie. Like, I'm going to brag on it a little bit. So, but I had a great time. Yeah, it's like fine. It's fine. I had a great time talking with some really, really amazing CX leaders over at Scotts Miracle-Gro. Please stay tuned for that. But we've also got Ray, who I think is going to be coming in and talking some sustainability. But we're going to have to see what happens. Listen, stay tuned. We've got some great interviews. Holger and I are going to be back in just a few. Say goodbye.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ray Wang. I'm here at Climate Week at Capgemini, and we're here with Sol Salinas, one of the leading voices in the world of climate tech, and sustainability. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Ray. It's always a delight to be with you.
Well, tell us a little bit about your role here at Capgemini. What are you leading? Because you've got a big operation here.
So I lead the sustainability work for the Americas for Capgemini, and Capgemini has a very ambitious agenda and a very deep and wide portfolio of offerings that we make available to our clients across the globe, including sustainable strategy, sustainable products and business services, sustainable operations, sustainable IT, and monitoring. We have a full set of capabilities that we believe can make a demonstrable difference in the sustainability journeys of our clients, not only in the Americas, but of course, globally.
Yeah, and you built quite an ecosystem, right, of vendors and partners and other folks along the way. I mean, this is not just you guys looking at sustainability. It looks like entire village here. Well,
to your point, and we have come to the conclusion that the challenges that we face as a global community require an ecosystem of solutions, frankly, and we regard the default position as being one where we go to market with multiple ecosystem partners simultaneously. The challenges are grave, the time is urgent, and it's rare when we go to market by ourselves. We believe that 1 + 1 = 11 in the sustainability space, and time is running out. And so we do value those partnerships greatly.
Yeah, no, I've been impressed. I've seen everybody here. We've had some great conversations, anything from manufacturers to insurance companies to folks that are actually pioneering the latest climate tech. They're all here. Now, you recently published an amazing piece of research, really talking about AI, a world in balance series, really about what's happening there. And what I was thinking about is like really that shift of everyone moving to AI, the need to actually move to sustainability, the need to actually meet the rest of the needs of the demands. We're here during UN General Assembly Week. All these factors are converging in one. Tell us a little bit about some of those research findings, and especially in terms of views around what people believe is, true sustainability.
Absolutely. So Ray, the World in Balance series for us at Capgemini represent an opportunity for us to listen to our customers and our constituents about where they are and where they believe they need to be and how they should get there vis-a-vis their own sustainability ambitions. This is now the third report that we've issued, and one of the sort of landmark findings, frankly, is just the marked increase in commitment to sustainability, not only of developing journeys and mapping out sort of long-term strategies, but actually investing in them. And one of the elements of the World in Balance that we developed at Capgemini is a sustainability maturity model. And we use that index, if you will, to determine the progress of or lack of progress of our respondents relative to a baseline year of 2022. And if you look at the progress of investments, of commitments, of achieving actual milestones, we've seen a 22% increase across all of our respondents over the last 3 years, which we think is significant and encouraging. Now, if you think about, by the way, the number of respondents, we annually ask over 2,500 executives from 13 different countries, across 11 different industries, across 15 or more different titles, all representing organizations over $1 billion in annual revenue. So it's a pretty significant and robust set of voices that we hear from. And it's greatly encouraging to hear, again, that there is increasingly a commitment to what we all believe in, which is, of course, advancing sustainability, and to do so in a way that generates revenue and not just imposing costs on the enterprise.
Yeah, it's a great point, right? And one of the biggest areas that I saw a lot of investment from that report is really around circularity, right? And actually doing it at the beginning of the process in terms of building by design, the ability to actually get to zero waste and actually creating new types of opportunities in supply chains that we hadn't thought about before. That's a lot of investment. What do you think, and why do you think people are focused on that area?
I think there's been a great deal of attention given, Ray, to the amount of waste, unneeded waste, that all of us are putting into landfills in our oceans. And fortunately, that is the case. I mean, the mainstream media has I think, successfully alarmed us about the level of waste that we individually and institutionally are responsible for, whether it's the bioplastics, or whether it's the plastics waves that we see on the shores of some of the most beautiful beaches on the planet. Those things, I think, have raised flags for individuals and institutions as well.
It's a great point, right? And I just sat in on the food waste session that was going on here at the Glass House, and that was actually pretty enlightening in terms of how people are trying to reduce that along the way, and also doing it by design. There's a bigger piece in terms of what's happening in climate and sustainability and in terms of all the environment, and it's really around regulation. Where are we on regulation, and what are advances? Where do you see consensus, and where do you see we're going to still have differences around the world?
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, I think for the purists like myself in the world, we see the advances in regulations around environmental reporting as being a very positive sign that the policymakers across the globe, whether it's in the United States and the Securities and Exchange Commission, or whether it's the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, that there is a recognition that yes, there's a carrot, but perhaps there's also a need for a little bit of stick, if you will. And what we're hearing from our clients, almost across the board, Ray, is that it does mobilize them to action. Over 70% of those respondents, senior executives, have basically said that yes, the regulations coming out of Europe, coming out of the state of California, coming out of the Securities and Exchange Commission has mobilized them to act, and to act not only in terms of reporting, but also to improving the performance across those aspects of their sustainability journey that they're reporting on. So it clearly has a very positive role.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing it as being an equalizer too, right? I mean, if some countries are actually following the rules, others are not following the rules, it creates a disincentive and a disadvantage. And so that's where we see that regulation piece. But just as exciting as all the new climate tech. What gets you very excited, right? We've seen a lot here at this event, and more importantly, all throughout Climate Week.
You know, Ray, we no longer have an excuse for non-action. I mean, maybe there was a time when we said to ourselves, well, do I really have the ability to introduce solar energy into my energy mix, or wind energy into my energy mix, or for that matter, small modular reactor energy electrons into my energy mix? That may have been the case years ago. That is no longer the case. Whether you live in the state of California, or the state of Texas, or whether you're in Spain, there is really no reason why you can't now seek and act on opportunities to power your facilities and your manufacturing facilities and your commercial operations with renewable energy. Full stop.
It's a great point, right? I mean, we're also seeing that happen, especially given the boom in AI, right? And we see this intersection of AI and sustainability. You just saw Constellation Energy, not related to Constellation Research, Constellation Energy picked up with Microsoft the option of opening up 3 Mile Island again, right? So where do you see this? Or is this going to actually create a new wave of investment?
Well, certainly. I mean, I think one of the things that we've come to discover is that the nuclear energy that's available to us now is not the nuclear energy that we faced in the 70s during 3 Mile Island. It's just not the case anymore. The technology is significantly advanced.
100 megawatts, small modular reactors.
Exactly. And one of the things that we're looking at Capgemini, Ray, is the ability of SMRs, small modular reactors, to actually augment the energy capacity needs of data centers. You talked about Gen AI and AI solutions writ large. They are actually taking our energy capacity demands to the limit. And many energy data center providers are now looking to augment their current capacity with small modular reactors that they can quite literally park in their parking lots to meet those energy demands.
Yeah, and battery storage as well. We're seeing that, especially at different trailers, as people looking at mixed modes of energy, all different options that are there. But while this is happening, your survey actually from the Capgemini Research Institute showed that people don't trust what's being said. What's up with the greenwashing?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good thing, frankly. I think it's a good thing that Generation Zers and millennials have a healthy skepticism about environmental claims. And you're exactly right. Our survey found that over 80% of Generation Zers have questions and do their homework, and they should be doing their homework. And I think that holds all of us accountable as they should. And my sense is that healthy skepticism to remain, and that sort of puts a burden on us to be more transparent, to be very clear, and to be very precise about how we report on our sustainability investments.
Yeah, and that consistency is super important. And a lot of times what's been happening is people don't really look at the holistic view of actually the sustainability initiatives, and they only see a small part, and actually they don't see the impact or the actual total impact of what's happening there. So now there's a framework that's always in these Capgemini reports, and maybe it's you're doing that talks about commit, act, monitor, and report. How do clients get started with that?
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, it's one thing for an organization to dabble in sustainability by adopting a circularity model across, one category of products, or by simply doing the bare minimum to report in response to the CSRD or to the SEC Scope 1, Scope 2 emissions. That's one thing, and that has essentially been the case for too long. So we at Capgemini sort of feel it important to communicate to our clients the importance for them to commit holistically to a sustainability journey that includes improvements in energy efficiency, improvements in supply chain management, improvements in IT performance, improvements in all aspects of the business, so that collectively those initiatives have a demonstrable impact, positive impact on the environment. That is essentially the crux of our commit element of our story. But we also believe it really important that it's not good enough to simply commit to something and putting it out on a press release. We think it needs to follow with action. Yep. And so we are very heavily involved with clients across the globe, across multiple industries, aerospace and defense, the automotive industry, the OEMs, the energy and utility sector, et cetera, in getting them to understand that at the end of the day, there are methods to improve the way that you manufacture products and services, develop products and services, and that the way that you actually calculate the environmental improvements that come with sustainable practices. Yep. We also obviously believe it important that when you develop a reporting protocol, that it is fully encompassing of your E, S, and G activities, which is where the monitoring and reporting part of it comes from. So it is a full journey, and doing just part of that may actually play well, but it doesn't necessarily get you to where you need to be in terms of your commitments.
So always a pleasure. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, take care.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. I am here with two amazing researchers, digital experience architects, CX visionaries. But you know what? More importantly, I am here with two people who know how to put in the work. And so I'm super excited to be joined by Jess and Haley from Scotts Miracle-Gro. Should we just go ahead and jump right into it? Should we just go have some fun?
Let's do it.
Okay, I love it. I love it. What are some of the things that you guys do, like really to champion the real voice of the customer by triangulating this quant and the qual? You guys really are sitting at a very interesting intersection of where that true customer user reaction is coming in. It's not you saying, well, I think people didn't like this button. It's literally someone being like, I hated that button. You're like, whoa, like there's but then you also get the reason behind that. You get the richness behind that. Mm-hmm. How are you guys finding the insights and the information that you're sharing and triangulating move like upstream so that it's not just, I didn't like that button, but that it becomes really rich insight for even senior executives in business strategy to say, maybe we need to make a different decision, because if education is pushing us here, maybe our product has to shift there too, or maybe this is a different opportunity. Are you seeing what you guys do take a different stream than kind of just sitting in that digital optimization space?
Yeah, I think there's a few ways that we're seeing that happen. We have a team that is really like respectful, I guess, of data and not a lot of defensiveness at all. And so I don't know, we're very lucky, I think, but we've not really had a situation where it's like, well, you're just saying that because you don't like it, or that's your personal.
You don't like purple. Yeah.
The power of a highlight reel, right? The power of video, the power of having a video of 8 people saying, I'm confused, I'm not sure what like the cycle on that would be, or I'm confused, I don't know how I would use that. You can't really rebut that at all. Yeah. And so we have teams that are really, really oriented to improving and optimizing and being willing to be wrong and work in a really agile way of if we can optimize, if we can improve. And it's also the beauty of working in the digital space is that we're working on products that are constantly evolving. Much of the physical products that we sell in stores and that we sell online, they're always evolving too. That time scale is a little bit longer, but our innovation pipeline is super rich, and we're really trying to just sort of help folks that maybe are a little bit more used to that longer time frame to say, hey, when it comes to the digital experiences that we have, we're doing that same, product life cycle. We're just sort of squeezing it down a little bit. And the R&D that you're doing to make sure that that product is super, super effective and that it really does deliver on all of the promises. That's essentially what we're doing too, just applied to a different
like highlight reels. We have shown that like sticks with our stakeholders the most. Like there's nothing more important. And I think this is really how we've help to like build empathy here is like, let's put this in front of we watch videos all day. So let's put this in front of our stakeholders, in front of our cross-functional teammates, and truly show them what these consumers and these participants are doing so that they really have a chance to like put their feet in their shoes and understand how they're experiencing it, rather than us just saying, hey, the button's ugly. Like you can actually truly hear it, and it really does drive us and take us really far with our stakeholders. So
can you kind of walk me through how you've developed best practices, whether it is how you prioritize, the speed and scale at which you're able to work, but then also how have you really been able to just kind of, I guess, balance everything? So now that you have the knowledge, how are you able to then kind of make sure that like, we're getting bags and carts, but we're also getting people to think about the next season?
Yeah. I think focusing on building confidence and motivation and having content that can get people excited to maybe start caring about their lawn for the first time in a while, or to take that very first step, that kind of upper funnel, I guess, like that kind of getting people to just start to care about something that maybe they've lost interest in, or they started a garden during COVID and they're, maybe had 1 or 2 seasons of like, oh boy, but getting them back in. If we can do that, then the rest of the pieces are much easier for a lot of our other partners that are in media and marketing and sales. Like we've really primed them to say, like, you can hit a home run now. Like, we've got folks in that right mindset. And so I think having that focus being on the upper funnel, we see that it's paying it for things that come later down the road. And that is the right place for the channels that we're focused on most often. That's the right role for it to play. I think that it can sometimes vary by brand, and there are certain, in the portfolio that we have, there are certain brands that say we are exclusively here for education. If you want to compare products because you're between 2 or 3 that have a similar benefit, that's why we're showing up for you in the digital space. Or if you want to get inspired to take on a new project, that's why we're there. There are other brands and other sub brands where we see that purchase and that conversion being their top focus. And so we are having to shift a little bit to say, hey, you're really focused on moving people through the purchase path, getting that cart to move into checkout, getting that checkout to move into a purchase. And so we do have to balance a little bit. And sometimes certain voices are louder than others when it comes to making that balance. We're a small team, so we have to be choiceful and pretty strategic on how we take those on. But I think truly in the last couple of years where we've tried to create efficiency in our MarTech stack and creating efficiencies with the platforms and tools that we're using, we're able to take an insight and apply it more broadly a little bit easier than we have in the past. And so that rising tide can then benefit all of the brands in the ways where it's appropriate to benefit all of the brands. And then those that need like a more specific focus or a more specific outcome, we can focus our attention really deeply there, while we've also brought everybody up to that same sort of baseline experience that we're able to identify.
You guys look at UX, you guys look at the digital experience, you look at this, but I think that so much of this can be actually applied even in when we think about decision-making for executives and the velocity and the speed at which we need to make decisions about our businesses. We need to be able to bring in all the data, bring in all the information, and to bring in that empathy, like you guys said. Like, I love thinking about how you can apply that for a business leader and an executive trying to move that concept of decision velocity forward. What are some of the things that you guys have noticed really make that difference? Like, are there any things that you would share with your colleagues and your peers across the CX ecosystem of, if you could take this into your leaders 3 rungs up, at the very top of the org, these are the types of things that we can and should be delivering specifically to accelerate decision making. Anything that you guys would share?
Yeah, I think you talked about speed, and having that speed. We are obviously in a very seasonal business, right? Spring is our Christmas of a lot of other CPG and like online retail. Like, the holidays that's our spring, and
I love it.
Having an answer in spring for spring to impact spring is really important. And so that contrast from the olden days to now, where Haley has and can turn a study around in 24 hours, essentially. And I think that's where, too, I can take a very specific question that an executive has, a very specific or nuanced hypothesis that someone in leadership has, and we can run it, we can answer it, and we can get that insight back to them to inform it pretty quick.
Has the results of that, has the ability to bring that research and that insight so quickly also kind of opened the floodgates, though, for folks across the organization to be like, I too would like you to test this, where now all of a sudden everyone's like, I would like you to test blue versus dark blue. And you're like, that might not be a priority today.
Oh yeah, it's ironic that you bring that up because we just had an example of that this week where like we are so dying to kind of get our research in front of people to share what we're finding and the insights that we have and build that empathy. But once you share it, like it's not gonna stop flooding in. And so I think we're right now trying to figure out that balance a little bit too of, and that's where like priority comes in and seasonality, especially for us, comes into play of how do we best balance these things within given seasons and within given priorities, because we want to help everyone. We want to bring all the insights and build as much empathy as we possibly can. But it definitely comes with the flood is coming in and we got all the intake requests as possible. So
everybody wants a new question. Oh my God. Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much. So many best practices, so many great stories. Congratulations on all the stuff you guys are doing.
Thank you. This has been great fun.
Hey, Holger, guess what? We just finished episode 90. What?
Yes, 90's in the can. Thanks everybody for watching. Hope we gave you a couple of new ideas and thoughts for this.
I know, it's always great. This is the time that Holger and I get together and talk about stuff we don't normally get to talk about, like stuff that's just happened in our week. So thank you guys for being here, listening in. Leave your thoughts and comments down here. Listen, couple quick housekeeping notes that I need y'all to help me do. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you go down and hit that button. Make sure you're also following us on X or Twitter, whatever the heck we're calling it this week. Follow us there. It's at ConstellationR.com or at Liz K. Miller or at Holger MU. You always know where to get us over there. We're also on LinkedIn. There are lots of ways to see us doing stuff. So please go do it. There's also a really great newsletter from Constellation. We want you to sign up for that too. Next episode 91, is going to be the dynamic duo, Larry and Martin and Larry, Dignan and Schneider and Dignan. It's those guys. Those guys are going to be back with some more news. But listen, we're also going to be heading into event silly season, of course, capped off with Constellation's very own
in the middle of
Constellation's Connected Enterprise. Yes. We're going to be at the very end of the month. We're going to get a little spooky out on Half Moon Bay. We're going to be live tweeting. We're also going to be doing some live reporting from that event. So be sure to set your calendars now. That last week of October, we will see you guys then. On behalf of Holger and me and all of Constellation, catch you next time.
Liz is becoming like Ray, always late.
Oh, she sent me a message saying she was doing her eyebrows.
This is supposed to be done on here because we give cosmetic tips. What is this? I mean, I'm doing my hair here. I'm doing my hair here. What is this? This is too high. I need a haircut probably. Yeah, my last haircut is...
Your internet's really slow. Can you talk to us really quick again?
Talking about me?
Ooh. Yeah, that's not good, Holger.
What? Nothing changed. Now that you tell me that Liz is here, how long does it take to make your eyebrows, Liz?
A long fucking time. Back up.
I thought you should do this on here for our cosmetics section.
Dude. I should do my eyebrows online next time? I can do that.
Yeah.
I used to be able to do my lip liner in the car while I was driving.
Look, we're running out of cosmetic topics. That's all I'm saying. Let me check on this one part. 1 second.
What inspired a dog adoption?
It was time, and I had a week where I was going to be home, and that wasn't going to happen again until end of November, and Reagan was not going to last that long. Like, she definitely, wanted the dog, a month ago kind of thing. So,
yeah.
We, hang on just a second. I'm getting told I need to make a quick lunch order for the fam real fast. So I'm so sorry. Just give me a minute. This has been my morning. I'm sorry. And then in order to make the hours work, school gets out at different times, every day.
What?
Yes. And it's down to the minute.
Make it hard on the parents.
They have figured out that if on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, they get let out at 2:22. But on Tuesdays, they get let out at 1:22. And on Fridays, they are let out at 2:19. That takes care of all the hours for the year. This is what I say to every single person who has to make that calculation. Because who gets let out at 2:22?
I got let out at 3:30. It was 3:30, 3:30, 3:30 every single day. No, like we get, like, for the first 2 weeks of school, you get daily text messages from the school. Like, remember, today is 122. Remember, today is 223. Remember, today is 222.
So weird.
My kid goes to aftercare. She can, okay, great. It's 222. Hope you're walking your butt across the campus right now.
Where are you guys ordering from? McDonald's?
The kids are going to have McDonald's because it's a holiday and I'm sending my child to someone else's house. So I am not going to foist any type of, she shouldn't be eating salt. Fine. Here's a cheeseburger. Fine. Listen.
Seasonal pumpkin spice.
Listen. You can't mock pumpkin spice latte. Y'all, it's y'all's fault. You blame the Europeans and your bloodlust for spices that you went and conquered the world for vanilla and nutmeg. You want to know why we all like pumpkin spice latte? Because of explorers that came from where? Europe. Y'all needed cinnamon so badly. We are just the natural, inevitable end for all of that.
I never heard that spice story. To me, it was all about the tea.
Spices.
The tea.
Anyway, speaking of phoning it in, here's episode 60 of ConstellationTV.
60?
90.
Is it?
Yeah.
90? Oh, shit. I went into the Wayback Machine, didn't I? Sorry about that, guys. We're episode 90?
60 of these? We've been doing 90. I've done 30.
I had no gray hair back at 60.